2, 1.
Okay, welcome everybody to the Greater Manchester Combined Authorities Standards Committee. I have one apologies for absence from David Greenhall, and I've had no chair's announcements or urgent business. Does anybody have anything to raise?
Chair, we have apologies from Councillor Elise Wilson as well.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't receive that. I still have no urgent business. Declarations of interest. When you received the papers, there was a blank form where you can declare interests. I haven't received any declarations for this agenda. Could you please ensure that form is returned to Nicola prior to the meeting, but also for verification, you should announce if there's an agenda item you have an interest in at the start of this meeting. I assume there's nobody having anything to declare. The minutes of the last meeting. I'd like everybody to consider and approve these. I will take them as read, but please shout out if there is any item of factual incorrectness or if there's any items you don't feel are covered on this agenda. Okay, in that case, I will approve those records. We now move on to agenda item 5, whistleblowing, anti-fraud and anti-bribery policies. And I'll hand over to Sarah Horseman to introduce this paper.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everybody. So I would like to present here an update of the Greater Manchester Combined Authorities whistleblowing policy. The last version of the policy was dated February 2018. So this is one of the regular updates and reviews of that policy. So I'd like to present it to the Standards Committee for your review and comment. The whistleblowing policy is part of the suite of counter-fraud policies that are maintained by the Combined Authority. The Audit Committee oversees those policies as well and has requested that the anti-money laundering policy and the anti-bribery policy are kind of refreshed so that they are very specific to the Combined Authority, because those policies have a tendency to be quite generic. So we have some time in our audit plan this year to refresh those policies as well. But for the time being, I would like to present the whistleblowing policy to you at the moment because that has been reviewed and updated. So attached to the appendix in the report is the policy. It hasn't changed substantively from the previous version. Obviously, we've changed some of the contact details to reflect the new treasurer and myself being in post, so there are up-to-date contact details. There are some minor changes in relation to the outcomes section of the policy to clarify that reporting is restricted due to the sensitive nature of the content of such reports relating to whistleblowing policies. We also have clarified the confidentiality and anonymity section, which is slightly expanded to confirm that any documentation relating to whistleblowing investigations will be kept securely. And it also confirms that we will protect the identity of people raising whistleblowing concerns, unless if we need to reveal them, we will always request consent to do so. But in some circumstances, for example, where there's a criminal offence occurred, we can't always protect identity, and that's predominantly in relation to criminal activity or safeguarding issues. Then anonymity can't be protected. So those are the main changes to the report. They are minor. I have worked with this document now for the last year and have undertaken some whistleblowing investigations. So in my opinion, it works. It contains all it needs to do. I've compared it to other whistleblowing policies to good practice to the PIDA, and in my opinion it is a suitable policy that suits the needs of the Combined Authority, but I welcome any questions or comments on it.
Well, thank you, Sarah. Any questions from the members? Yes, Paul.
Yeah, no, thanks, Sarah. And as you've highlighted, in many respects, these are minor amendments, but I guess it's more of an operational question. You know, policies and strategies are fantastic, and obviously, you know, there's a legal requirement to undertake this work. But I guess my question is how do we engender and encourage a culture within the CA and obviously all activities that people are aware of this policy and also feel properly protected to exercise their rights under this policy, from fear of obviously reprisals or victimisation or disciplinary action. I guess it's just more a question of how do we operationalise this within the CA and the CA's activities and functions to create that kind of good practice and that culture of people feeling empowered to be able to come forward and utilise these policies and procedures.
Absolutely. So over the last year, I've done some awareness activity in relation to publicising the fact that this policy is available to all staff. It is. If you search on our website, it's very easily available, but I've done some internal communications around the policy to make sure people are aware of it. I've also, there was one case that we gave an update on because it had been quite widely known about within the organisation, so I provided an update on that, to give some assurance that actions are taken, that we do take any reports very seriously, so as to provide relevant updates as to the outcomes of that, because I think that's a really important part of it, that people see a change if there is a report. So we're very keen to make sure we communicate the outcomes of investigations or activities that we do. I've also, in my priorities, I've just been writing the business plan for next year, so my priorities are to continue to embed awareness and training activities in relation to all counter-fraud activities, to make sure that there is that awareness of that they are there, that they're taken seriously, and that we do take action on them.
Thank you very much, Sarah.
Okay.
Thank you, Sarah. Any other questions from members? I had one small clarification for me. On page 14, you talk about subcontractors and that. Would suppliers' employees be able to use this policy to raise something?
Insofar as they are a member of the public. So there is a section in there that we say members of, this is predominantly for employees and contractors. But if there are other concerns, we will also take them seriously. Yeah.
So basically, they can raise it with us, and we would take it seriously. And it may move, as you say, at the bottom of page 14 to a more appropriate internal reporting procedure or something. Yeah. But they don't need to worry about that. They just raise the point, and we'll deal with it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for that clarification. Any other points before I move on? Okay. I request that the revised draft is therefore accepted by this committee. And then is there anything else you need from us, Sarah?
No, thank you very much.
Okay, well, thank you for that. I then move on to arrangements for dealing with complaints, which is agenda item number 6. And we are to note this report. Would you like to introduce that, Gwyn?
Yes, thanks. Thanks, Chair. Last year, members asked if we could set out a process for dealing with complaints under the Members' Code of Conduct. So this is just a short report to set those out for you. So the monitoring officer is the gatekeeper for the process, really, and the proper officer for receiving complaints. So when Liz receives a complaint under the Code of Conduct, she consults Nicole, who's the independent person, to determine how it really should be processed, and she will consider whether the complaint discloses on its face a breach of the code, whether that might be a technical breach, whether it looks like a bit of political tit for tat, or is it really rather serious. And I suppose depending on that evaluation, she could possibly reject it at that stage, refer it for informal resolution if it was just a mere technical breach, or if it's serious, commission an investigation. The preference in the process is for informal resolution if that's practicable, and you know, an outcome might be that an apology is brokered between a couple of individuals, or it's apparent that a member might need some training, and that might remedy the complaint and satisfy the complainant. If it's a serious complaint that merits formal investigation, then the monitoring officer will commission that investigation, and then the possible findings from that are that there is a failure to comply or there isn't a failure to comply, and the monitoring officer will consult the independent confirm which of those findings is the outcome. If the finding is that there's been no breach, the complaint will be rejected, and if the finding is that there is a breach, the monitoring officer then has to decide whether to seek a local resolution or send the matter for a local hearing. So the local hearings are for yourselves as the standing committee, or you could appoint a subcommittee to hear a case. And then again, depending on your findings, possible actions from a finding of failure to comply would be sort of publication of findings, reporting to the CA, training, and in more serious cases, removal from positions that the CA has appointed a member to, or placing restrictions on the use of buildings or facilities. So that's just a run through of what the process is. If members have any questions, I mean, I have to say, we don't thankfully get many complaints, and I think that's hopefully an indicator of good conduct.
Thank you. Andrew, what would you like to say?
Yeah, thank you for that. And it's just a practical question really that I'm not clear on from the report, and it is obviously not relevant to how we would handle a legitimate complaint, but just the potential tension between a complaint that should actually sit with the local authority rather than with the combined authority. So assuming it's not the mayor or deputy mayor, and what the screening process is to determine. So obviously it talks about, we will just reject a complaint if it's not upheld. But what would we do if we felt that actually it related to a local authority matter? Is there anything formal in terms of passing that complaint on, or would it just be back to the resident, you've sent this to the wrong place, take it up elsewhere? Because I mean, I get residents emailing Andy all the time telling them I've not done what I wanted. It's not a standards complaint, but you can see how people might think that that is a potential source of escalation. So just interested how we'd handle that.
In terms of complaints generally that the CA receives, if it's rather than pass a complainant from pillar to post, we would tend to pass it to an appropriate organisation, and we've got that notice in the privacy notice on the website to say, if it's not us, we will pass it on for you. The process isn't formal like that, but if it was clearly a district matter, then we would tell the complainant that, and Liz has regular meetings with the other monitoring officers, and I'm sure she would, and she would refer it to the monitoring officer in the district. I think that would be the most sensible thing, because there's nothing worse is if you have a genuine grievance just being passed from pillar to post without being assisted.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for members, or are we happy to note this report? I will take the report as noted. Agenda item number 7 is fraud in the age of COVID-19. It's for the information. If there are any questions, please raise them. If you'd like more clarity on the document, then Sarah's happy to speak on that. Just let me know what you would like to do. I take Andrew.
Yeah, really, happy to note this, Chair. There's been obviously a number of new schemes, if you like, coming forward in terms of attempts to hoodwink residents, but the particular reference in the article to impact on local authorities, some of the shocking ways in which certain individuals have tried to fraudulently access some of the COVID-specific schemes that have come forward, for instance, the business schemes. There is a difference between applying for things that you are genuinely not eligible for, and some of the examples that I have seen where people are, frankly, attempting to commit blatant fraud. So I really welcome the fact that attention's being drawn to this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments? Otherwise, we'll take this as read. Okay, thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 8, our work programme for 2021. Basically, the committee is requested to consider the work programme. I was going to suggest that we check this and suggest at the next meeting, which we'll probably do at the start of the municipal year. It would be a timely review to go through this and the annual declaration of interest. So do people want to cover this paper in detail or come back to it at the next meeting? I'm seeing support for coming back to it to the next meeting. Okay. In that case, I shall move on to agenda item 9. As I said before, I think the next meeting should be at the start of the 2021-22 municipal year to provide information. Nicola will come to you looking for a date in your diary around early June, if that's okay to everybody. And if there's no further business, I will therefore declare the meeting closed and let you move to your next meeting. Thank you, everybody, for your attendance. Appreciated. Bye now.
Thank you, Chair. Bye-bye.